Hey, what's going on, dudes? This is Captain Gimpy here, and yeah, I'm here today to talk to you about a movie. And that movie is Greta Gerwig's adaptation of Little Women. Um, if you guys notice, this is like an old school video because I was supposed to be getting an upgrade, but a couple of the parts ended up not working out, so I had to reassemble my old PC, and then I had to format it because one of my hard drives died. So I don't exactly have all my software at my disposal. But anyway, by next week, um, all that stuff will be taken care of. So this version of Little Women is very different than the 1994 version, and in many ways, for me, it made the story come across stronger. Um, I'm one of those people that read this book in high school. I vaguely remembered it. Then I watched the 1994 version of the movie. Didn't really like it that much for very specific reasons. Um, and it had nothing to do with the narrative. So, what makes this different? First of all, the cast. Laura Dern plays Marmee. Meryl Streep is Aunt March, the aging matriarch of the March family. And the sisters, Joe, Amy, and Beth, are played by. Oh, and Meg. I always forget Meg. Meg is played by Hermione Granger, aka Emma Watson. Um, Joe March, the aspiring author, and in my opinion, the center of the story, at least when I read it and watched the previous movie, that's how I felt. She's played by Saoirse Ronan. You guys will probably remember her from Greta Gerwig's freshman project, Lady Bird, which was filmed right here in Sacramento. And Amy's played by Florence Pugh, who is an actress out of the UK. Um, and Elizabeth Scanlon plays Beth. So here's the thing. I really like this movie. For the most part, I thought it was great. One of the things you'll notice right away is that the cutting in this movie is much more energetic. Um, the scene where Lori and Joe meet at the cotillion and they're playfully engaging with each other, that feels much more lively and like something a couple of teenage doofuses would actually do, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Um, Florence Pugh's acting as Amy was probably some of the best I've seen. For me, Amy was a problematic character. Uh, she Previously to me, she was just the bratty middle child who couldn't deal with not getting her way. And that's how she came across throughout the whole previous film for me. Um, so this was a nice change. Of course, there's still that pivotal scene where Amy burns Joe's novel in progress, her handwritten manuscript, and that will still piss you off if you're a writer and you know how long it takes to perfect the way things are said on the page. I mean, I found myself being like, damn it, I still hate you. Um, but as the character grows, you see someone who has a ton of inner strength. And for me, that didn't quite come across before. And that's one thing I really appreciated about this film. Um, let's see. Saoirse Ronan, easily one of my favorite actresses ever. She is so great as Joe. Like, to me, in the previous movie, Joe didn't feel real. She felt like a literary figure. And when you're watching a movie, you want to see people. You want to feel like you're getting to know people the same way that you do when you're reading a book. When you take a book character and you just put them on screen, it doesn't always work, which was one of my issues with a similar period type movie. Um, I want to say Pride and Prejudice, the version of it with Keira Knightley. Um, the dialogue was very booky and didn't feel like how people actually spoke. And I don't mean um, it doesn't feel how people speak now. Of course, it's not going to, but people never really spoke like a book, guys. That's a thing we get from not being alive when a lot of these things deemed classic literature were written. Um, in this case, the dialogue has been reworked to feel a little more contemporary while still staying true to the sort of air of the dialogue that comes from the novel, which I thoroughly enjoyed a lot. The color grading in this film is top notch. It wasn't one of those cases that often happens with these movies where I'm supposed to feel happy, but for some reason the scene is tinted blue because it's supposed to be cool because we live in a world that's post Walking Dead. The color grading was totally appropriate. The score was subtle, not overpowering, and it totally added to the feeling that you are following these children who are growing up to be women, and the score changes as they age, which is something I really enjoyed. I'm going to talk about something that fans of the '94 film did not like, and that would be the fact that Greta Gerwig has decided to tell the story out of sequence and tell sort of kind of via flashbacks, although I wouldn't necessarily call all of those things that people are terming flashbacks to be flashbacks. Um, I'm just going to say the narrative is told out of sequence. And I tend to notice that with people around my age, I'm in my mid 30s, and older, they tend to really hate nonlinear narrative. And it's something I talked about before in another movie, and it's something that people didn't like about a video game called Beyond Two Souls. They thought the nonlinear narrative was too confusing. The fact that events were told out of chronological order were like, turn them off. That is not something that happened to me. One thing that doing that actually did was it put the focus where I thought it should have been all along. It put the focus on the girls and not all of the shit happening around the girls. And I mean, look, I love the story. I love the idea of like early female empowerment. That's one of the things that the book was trying to do. Some people have said that it kind of beats you over the head with a feminist message. So, okay. You gotta remember, dudes, different generation, different set of rules, and sometimes you need someone from the previous generation, which would be mine, to speak the language of the generation that comes after you. And I think she did a wonderful job of doing that, and I would totally recommend that people go see this movie. But if you are a fanatic for the story and you don't like it when things change too much, um, then don't. I totally get that. And if you're one of those people, you're probably just going to get mad and you're probably going to waste some money. Um, with that being said, I have a recommendation for you. Go on to Amazon.com if you have a Prime membership and look for the three-part miniseries that was done in cooperation with PBS. It takes a lot of the issues that I had with the first film, mainly that it dragged because it was trying to feel epic. Christian Bale's wooden ass performance as Laurie, or not wooden, but one note. He came across as an asshole the entire way, and the character's supposed to be conflicted. Um, and since it's a three-part miniseries, you have all this room for character development, and you still get the feeling of an epic coming of age story that follows this family through their trials and tribulations, through their adolescence on into womanhood and whatnot. check that out if you have a Prime membership. The last time I checked, it was still available to watch. With that being said, yeah, that's what I think about the movie. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Susan Reviews. Without your review and the fact that I disagreed with a lot of it, although I will say there are some things I agreed with. Although I disagreed with a lot of it, um, your review actually allowed this one to take shape, so I just gotta say thank you. A link to her channel will be in the description. You should definitely go check her out. She loves movies as much as I do, and that's what this is all about. Um, oh yeah, I should also tell you what I didn't like about the movie. Um, okay, so Emma Watson. I really like Emma Watson, but for some reason in some movies, she comes across totally flat, and that's what happened here. The same thing happened with Laura Dern, despite the fact that Laura Dern has some pretty amazing acting chops. Um, and I think that it might be because, in Laura Dern's case anyway, Greta was going hard toward focusing on the girls. I have no excuse for what happened with Emma Watson. But yeah, those were the only things I really didn't like about it. Other than that, dude, it was totally worth my time. Uh, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. See you at the movies. Bye.